On Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, at exactly 7:15 p.m., my daughter-in-law whispered in my ear, "I'm pregnant with your husband's baby, you pathetic old woman." I'm Margaret Rose Harrison. I'm 65 years old. I laughed out loud and said, "Don't worry, dear. Everything will work out just fine." Then I decided to find out the truth. The dining room of our colonial home at 847 Oakwood Drive looked perfect that evening. The Waterford crystal chandelier, the one Tom bought me for our 20th anniversary back in 2002, cast warm light across my grandmother's Royal Doulton china. I'd spent 3 hours preparing beef Wellington, Tom's favorite, along with roasted vegetables and my famous apple tart. The table seated 6 comfortably. Tom sat at the head, his silver hair neatly combed, wearing the blue cashmere sweater I'd given him last Christmas. At 72, my husband still carried himself with the quiet dignity that had first attracted me at a church social 43 years ago. Our son Michael sat to Tom's right. At 40, he looked so much like his father, the same dark hair, now showing hints of gray, the same focused way of cutting his food, the same tendency to fall silent when troubled. He'd been quiet all evening, I noticed. Too quiet. Across from Michael sat his wife of 3 years, Lily Chen, 28 years old, 15 years younger than my son. She wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Her blonde highlighted hair was pulled back in that severe style she always wore, making her sharp green eyes even more prominent. Since entering our family in June 2021, something about Lily had always set my teeth on edge. The way she watched people, studied them, like a cat watching birds. Tonight she was glowing, not the soft glow of contentment, but something harder, more triumphant. She kept touching her still flat stomach, drawing attention in that calculated way she'd mastered. "Mother Margaret," Lily said. She'd never called me just Mom like I'd hoped. "You've really outdone yourself. This must have taken you all day." There was something in her tone, something that made all day sound like all you're capable of. "It's nothing, dear," I replied, noting how Tom's fork had frozen halfway to his mouth. "Family dinners are important. So important," Lily agreed, dabbing her lips with her napkin. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about marriage vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health." She paused, her eyes glittering. "Through all kinds of challenges." Tom's fork clattered against his plate. "That's lovely, sweetheart," Michael said, reaching over to squeeze his wife's hand. He looked so hopeful, so eager. "Marriage is about commitment, isn't it? Building something together." "Oh, yes," Lily said, but she was looking at me now. "Building something, or sometimes sharing what's already been built." My heart began beating faster. There was something in the air, something wrong. Tom hadn't looked at me directly all evening, hadn't really looked at me properly in weeks, I suddenly realized. "I have news," Lily announced, setting down her napkin with deliberate precision. "News that will change everything for our family." Michael straightened in his chair, his face lighting up. "What is it?" Lily stood gracefully, one hand resting on her stomach. "I'm pregnant." The words hit the room like a physical blow. Michael's face transformed with joy. He jumped up, wrapped his wife in his arms. "Lily, that's wonderful, He turned to us, beaming. "Mom, Dad, you're going to be grandparents." I should have been overjoyed. I should have been crying happy tears, rushing to embrace my daughter-in-law, already planning nursery colors and baby showers. We'd been married 43 years, Tom and I. We'd weathered storms, celebrated triumphs, built a life in this house. We'd raised Michael with love and care. A grandchild should have been the perfect next chapter. Instead, something cold twisted in my stomach as I watched Lily's eyes over Michael's shoulder. She was watching Tom, and there was something victorious in her expression. "Congratulations," I managed, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. But Lily wasn't done. Michael released her to pour champagne for a toast. While he was turned away, fumbling with the bottle and glasses, Lily walked slowly around the table. She stopped beside my chair, leaning down as if to give me a congratulatory hug. Her lips brushed my ear. Her perfume, something expensive, Chanel No. 5 probably at 150 a bottle, filled my nose. "I'm pregnant with your husband's baby, you pathetic old woman," she whispered. Time to accept reality. For a moment, the world tilted. The chandelier seemed too bright. The grandfather clock in the hall, inherited from my mother in 1998, ticked too loudly. My hands gripped the edge of the mahogany table so hard my knuckles went white. But somehow, impossibly, I laughed. A bright, clear sound that rang through the dining room. "Don't worry, dear," I heard myself say, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. "Everything will work out just fine." Lily pulled back, confusion flickering across her perfect features. She'd expected tears, accusations, drama. My calm response had thrown her off balance. As I looked across the table at Tom, my Tom, who still couldn't meet my eyes, I felt something die inside me, the last thread of certainty about the life I thought I'd built. Michael was raising his glass, talking about new beginnings and growing families. His happiness was so pure, so genuine, that it broke my heart all over again. I raised my own glass with a steady hand, smiled at my son, and felt my world crumble into dust around me. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I responded when spoken to, smiled when expected, played the part of the surprised but delighted mother-in-law. But inside I was screaming. Lily kept watching me throughout the meal, her expression shifting between satisfaction and confusion. She'd expected to destroy me with that whisper. Instead, I laughed. By the time they left, Michael chattering excitedly about cribs and college funds, Lily shooting me one last calculated look, it was 9:47 p.m. I know because I glanced at the kitchen clock as I loaded the dishwasher with mechanical precision. Tom appeared in the doorway, his shoulders slumped. "Maggie," he started, his voice rough. "We need to—" "Not tonight," I said without turning around. "I can't do this tonight." I heard him sigh, heard his footsteps retreat up the stairs to the bedroom we'd shared for over 4 decades. But I couldn't follow him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Instead, I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of what had been my last innocent family dinner, and wondered how long I'd been living with strangers. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay in our king-sized bed, purchased at Ethan Allen in 2015 for $3,200, listening to Tom's breathing beside me. Every small sound seemed amplified. The creak of the house settling, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of that damn grandfather clock. When morning came, I moved through my usual routine like an actress playing a part. Coffee for 2, Lavazza beans, $18.99 a pound, ground fresh. Eggs over easy for Tom. Whole wheat toast from the bakery on Main Street, cut diagonally the way he preferred. We sat across from each other at our breakfast table, the morning sun streaming through the kitchen windows, and I studied his face like I was seeing it for the first time. "Sleep well?" he asked, not looking up from his newspaper. The Wall Street Journal, delivered daily since 1995. "Fine," I lied. The silence stretched between us, filled with everything we weren't saying. Finally, Tom folded his paper and stood. "I'll be working in the garden today. The roses need attention before the first frost." Working in the garden. How many times had he said those exact words over the past few months? I watched him walk away, noting the slight stoop to his shoulders that hadn't been there a year ago. After he left, I sat alone with my cooling coffee and let my mind drift back over recent months, searching for clues I'd missed. They were there, like pieces of a puzzle I'd been too naive to assemble. 3 months ago, June 2024, Tom had started showering at odd times. Not just his usual morning routine, but suddenly after working in the yard, or before dinner when we weren't going anywhere. When I asked about it, he said he didn't want to smell like soil and fertilizer. 2 months ago, July, I'd found a credit card statement with charges I didn't recognize. A florist in Greenville, $347.50. A jewelry store I'd never heard of, $1,856. When I asked Tom about them, he said he was planning surprises for my birthday. My birthday was in March, 4 months earlier. 6 weeks ago, mid-August. Lily had started dropping by more frequently, always when Michael was at work at the architectural firm, always with some excuse about wanting to learn family recipes or asking for advice about marriage. She would stay for hours, and I would often find her and Tom having quiet conversations in the garden that stopped abruptly when I entered. "Just talking about the roses," Tom would say. "Lily's interested in learning about gardening." But Lily had once complained that dirt under her fingernails made her feel absolutely primitive. She'd said that at our 4th of July barbecue in 2022, wearing white Gucci sandals that cost $850. Now, sitting in the harsh light of morning after, those conversations took on a different meaning. The way Lily would touch Tom's arm while they talked. The way she would laugh at things that weren't particularly funny. The way Tom's cheeks would flush pink in a way I hadn't seen in years. I had attributed it to my husband being flattered by the attention of a young, beautiful woman. Harmless vanity, I told myself. Natural for a man his age to enjoy feeling appreciated. How naive I had been. The phone rang at 10:32 a.m., jarring me from my dark thoughts. "Mom!" Michael's voice was bright with excitement. "Did you sleep at all last night? I was too excited to close my eyes." "I'm still processing," I said carefully. "It's wonderful news, sweetheart. Lily's already making lists. Baby names, nursery themes, everything. She wants to start shopping this weekend." He paused. She mentioned that Dad seemed really happy about the news. Said he got a little emotional when she told him. My hand tightened on the phone. "When did she tell him?" "Last week, I think. She wanted to share it with him first. Said she was nervous about how you'd both react. Isn't that sweet? She was worried you might think we were too young or something." "Last week. She'd told Tom about the pregnancy a full week before announcing it to the family. Why would she do that unless—" "Mom, you still there?" "Yes," I managed. "Just thinking about everything we'll need to do to get ready." After I hung up, I sat staring at the phone. The pieces were clicking into place with sickening clarity. The private conversation. Tom's strange behavior. Lily's triumphant expression at dinner. I needed to know the truth, but I couldn't bear to confront Tom directly. Not yet. If I was wrong, if my suspicious mind was creating problems where none existed, I could destroy my marriage over nothing. But if I was right... I spent the rest of the morning in a fog, mechanically cleaning rooms that were already spotless, folding laundry that didn't need to be folded, moving through the house we'd bought in 1987 for $185,000, now worth $1.2 million, according to the latest assessment, like a ghost in my own life. Through the kitchen window, I could see Tom in his garden, pruning the roses with careful, practiced movements. David Thompson, our landscaper, worked nearby, trimming the hedges. David was 35, with kind brown eyes and work-roughened hands. He lived in the apartment above the Johnsons' garage next door, taking care of several properties in our neighborhood. Tom had hired him 18 months ago after our previous gardener, Roberto, retired to Florida. I'd grown fond of David's polite manner and dedication to making our yard beautiful. He always tipped his cap when he saw me, always asked about my day. Now I watched him work and wondered if he'd seen things, if he knew secrets I didn't, if the whole neighborhood knew what was happening in my marriage before I did. Around noon, Lily's silver Mercedes, a 2023 C-Class, $45,000, pulled into our driveway. She emerged wearing designer jeans and a fitted sweater that showed off her slender figure. Her blonde hair caught the sunlight as she walked toward the garden where Tom was working. I watched from behind the sheer curtains in our living room as she approached my husband. Their conversation was animated. Her hands gesturing, his head nodding. At one point, she placed her hand on his arm. The same gesture I'd noticed before but dismissed as friendliness. Now it looked like something else entirely. When she laughed, throwing her head back in that practiced way, Tom smiled. Really smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months. My chest constricted with a pain I didn't know how to name. They talked for maybe 20 minutes before Lily glanced toward the house. I stepped back from the window, heart racing with the absurd fear of being caught spying on my own husband. When I looked again, she was gone, her Mercedes backing out of the driveway at 12:34 p.m. Tom remained in the garden, but his movements seemed different now. Lighter, like their conversation had lifted some burden from his shoulders. That evening, Tom was almost cheerful at dinner. He talked about the garden, about plans for next spring, about how excited he was to be a grandfather. He was more animated than he'd been in weeks. Lily stopped by today, I said carefully, cutting my chicken with precise movements. Yes. Tom nodded, his voice steady. Sweet girl, she's nervous about the pregnancy. Wanted some reassurance. What kind of reassurance? For just a moment, his knife stilled. Oh, you know, first-time mother worries. Whether she'll be good at it, whether the baby will be healthy. Normal concerns. But nothing about Lily had ever struck me as normal, and I was beginning to suspect that this pregnancy was the least normal thing of all. That night, as Tom slept beside me, his breathing deep and even at 11:47 p.m. according to the alarm clock on my nightstand, I made a decision. I couldn't live with uncertainty. Couldn't spend the rest of my life wondering if every smile was a lie, every kiss a betrayal. I was going to find out the truth, no matter how much it hurt, because living with lies was worse than living with painful reality. Tomorrow I would begin my investigation in earnest. At 65 years old, I was going to become a detective in my own life. Week 1, September 25th, October 1st, 2024, Wednesday morning, September 25th, 9:15 a.m. Tom left for his weekly doctor's appointment at Greenville Medical Center. As his Lexus ES350 pulled out of the driveway, I climbed the stairs to his study, the room that had been his sanctuary for as long as we'd lived in this house. The heavy oak door creaked as I pushed it open. I felt like an intruder in my own home. Tom's study was exactly as he'd left it. Papers neatly stacked, books arranged alphabetically by subject. His leather chair, a stickly recliner we'd bought in 2010 for $2,400, positioned to catch the morning light. The room smelled of his aftershave. Acqua di Gio by Giorgio Armani, $98 a bottle. I had always respected his privacy, rarely entered without invitation. Now I wondered what that courtesy had cost me. I started with his desk. My hands trembled slightly as I opened the top drawer. Pens, paper clips, business cards from Dr. Robert Chen, DDS, and Thompson & Associates Landscaping. Nothing unusual. The second drawer held bills and correspondence, all seemingly innocent. Electric bill, $247.83. Water, $89.45. Property taxes, $8,456,000 annually. But in the bottom drawer, beneath a stack of fine gardening magazines from 2023 and 2024, I found something that made my breath catch. Bank statements. Not from our joint checking account at First National, the one we'd had since 1985. These were from Greenville Community Bank, an account I didn't know existed. Account number 4782-9156-3301. Account holder Thomas Andrew Harrison. Opening date February 14th, 2024. My hands shook as I examined the statements. They went back 6 months, and as I scanned the entries, my confusion deepened. February 2024. Deposit $5,000 says February 15th. Withdrawal $2,000 cash February 18th. Withdrawal $1,500 cash February 23rd. March 2024. Deposit $8,000 March 3rd. Withdrawal $3,500 cash March 7th. Withdrawal $2,800 cash March 19th. April 2024. Deposit $12,000 April 2nd. Withdrawal $7,000 stands Cash, April 5. Withdrawal, $4,200 ounce cash, April 23rd. Where was this money coming from? And where was it going? I photographed every statement with my iPhone 13, purchased at the Apple Store for $799 in December 2022. My hands were shaking so badly I had to take several shots to get clear images. Then I carefully returned everything to its place and closed the drawer. The sound of a car in the driveway sent me to the window. Not Tom's sedan. He wouldn't be back for another hour at least. It was Lily's silver Mercedes. I watched her emerge, wearing black yoga pants, Lululemon, probably $128, and a fitted tank top. She headed not toward the front door, but around the side of the house toward the back garden. This was my chance. I slipped downstairs and positioned myself where I could see the garden through the kitchen window. The digital clock on the microwave read 10:23 a.m. Lily was walking toward David Thompson, who was raking leaves near the old oak tree we'd planted in 1992. They began talking, their body language suggesting a familiarity that surprised me. I hadn't realized they knew each other well. Their conversation was brief, but intense. David kept shaking his head while Lily seemed to be insisting on something. At one point, she reached into her Prada handbag, $2,400 if I remembered correctly from the receipt I'd seen in Michael's car last month, and pulled out what looked like an envelope. David looked around nervously before taking it and shoving it into his jacket pocket. Money. She was giving him money. But why would Lily be paying our landscaper? Tom handled all the household expenses, including David's wages. We paid him $2,800 monthly for maintaining our property and the Johnsons next door. Before I could process this fully, another car pulled into the driveway at 10:31 a.m. Michael's blue Honda Accord. I watched my son get out and wave to his wife, who immediately broke away from David and hurried toward him with a bright smile. "Surprise!" I heard her call out through the open window. "I was hoping to catch you for lunch." Michael laughed, spinning her around. "What are you doing here, beautiful?" "I wanted to check on the garden with David," she said smoothly. "You know how I've been wanting to learn more about plants since we found out about the baby. I thought maybe we could plant a little garden for our son or daughter." It was perfectly reasonable, perfectly innocent. But I had seen the envelope, seen David's nervous glances. Thursday, September 26th, 2:47 p.m. I called my closest friend, Rachel Martinez. Rachel and I had met at a legal aid fundraiser in 1998. She was 45 now, a sharp-minded attorney at Martinez and Chen Law Partners, with offices in downtown Greenville. Over 26 years, she'd become more than a friend. She was the sister I'd never had. We met at Café Nouveau on Elm Street, a quiet spot where we'd shared countless coffees over the years. Their medium cappuccino cost $4.75. "Maggie," Rachel said, studying my face across the small marble table. "You look like you haven't slept in days." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photographs of the bank statements. Rachel put on her reading glasses, Tom Ford frames, $485, and scrolled through the images with the focused attention of someone examining evidence. After 5 minutes of silence, she looked up. "This is a lot of money moving in and out," she said carefully. "Over 6 months, Tom deposited approximately $43,000 and withdrew roughly $35,000 in cash. Where could it be coming from?" "That's what we need to find out." Rachel pulled out a small leather notebook. She still preferred writing things down by hand. "Tell me everything that's been unusual lately. Every detail, no matter how small." I told her about Lily's whisper at dinner, about Tom's strange behavior, about the envelope of money given to David, about the credit card charges from months ago. Rachel listened without interrupting, taking notes in her precise handwriting. "Here's what I think," she said finally. "Something is definitely wrong, but I don't think it's a simple affair. The money patterns don't fit. If Tom was spending on Lily, we'd see restaurant charges, hotel bills, gifts. Instead, we're seeing large cash withdrawals. That suggests something else." "Like what?" "Like someone paying off something, or someone being paid to keep quiet." She tapped her pen against the notebook. I have a colleague who specializes in financial investigations. With your permission, I'd like to have him take a discreet look at this account. See if we can trace where the deposits are coming from. Do it, I said. I need to know. Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Maggie, whatever we find, you're going to get through this. You're one of the strongest women I know. At 65, being called strong felt foreign. I'd spent most of my life being called accommodating, understanding, patient. Maybe it was time to be something else. Ted. Week 2, October 8th, 2024. Tuesday, October 1st, 6:47 p.m. Rachel called as I was preparing dinner. Chicken piccata, one of Tom's favorites. I was making it mechanically, the way I'd been doing everything lately. Maggie, I need you to sit down. I sat at the kitchen table, phone pressed to my ear. My colleague traced the deposits in Tom's account. They're coming from your joint savings account at First National, the one you and Tom have had for decades. What? Tom is transferring money from our savings into this secret account? Not just transferring. He's been liquidating assets. In February, he cashed out $12,000 in bonds. In March, he sold 200 shares of Apple stock. That was worth about $35,000. In April, he withdrew $15,000 from a CD before it matured, paying a penalty of $847. My head was spinning. How much total? Over the past 6 months, Tom has moved approximately $78,000 from your joint assets into this private account. And based on the withdrawal patterns, he's been giving most of it away in cash. $78,000, almost $80,000 from our life savings, and I hadn't known. There's more, Rachel said gently. I did some checking. Your son Michael has some financial problems. Michael? What kind of problems? Credit card debt. 3 maxed out cards totaling about $43,000. And there's something else. Several online gambling sites have charged his cards. BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel. Over the past 2 years, he's deposited approximately $127,000 into these accounts. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. Michael doesn't have that kind of money, I whispered. No, Rachel agreed. He doesn't, which means someone has been helping him. I think that's where your $78,000 went, Maggie. Tom has been trying to cover Michael's gambling debts. $127,000. My son had gambled away $127,000. Does Lily know? I asked. That's the question, isn't it? Rachel paused. Maggie, I think you should come to my office tomorrow. There's more we need to discuss, and I want to show you some documents I've pulled together. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing. The chicken piccata burned. I didn't care. At 7:32 p.m., Tom came home. He took one look at my face and went pale. Maggie, what's wrong? I found your bank account, I said quietly. The one at Greenville Community Bank, account number 4782-956-3301. Tom sank into a chair across from me. For a long moment, he said nothing. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. I can explain. Can you? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photographs. You've taken $78,000 from our savings. Where did it go, Tom? He closed his eyes. Michael's in trouble. He has a gambling problem. Online poker, sports betting. He owes money to some very dangerous people. How long have you known? 8 months, since February. He came to me crying, begging for help. Said he'd made some bad bets, got in over his head. I thought if I helped him pay it off, he could get clean, start over. Why didn't you tell me? Tom's eyes filled with tears, the first time I'd seen my husband cry in 20 years. Because I know about your father. I know what his gambling did to your family. I couldn't bear to see you look at Michael the way you looked at your father. My father had been a gambler, had lost our family home when I was 16 in 1975. The shame and disappointment had colored my entire youth. And Tom knew. Of course Tom knew. I'd told him that story early in our courtship, explaining why I'd never gamble, not even on the lottery. So you decided to lie to me instead, I said. To take our money without telling me. To let our son spiral deeper into debt while pretending everything was fine. I thought I could fix it, Tom said desperately. The phone rang. My cell phone, lying on the table between us. The screen showed unknown number. I answered. Hello? Is this Margaret Harrison? A man's voice. Deep, controlled, threatening. Yes. You're the mother of Michael David Harrison, correct? Lives at 1847 Riverside Apartments, Unit 4B. My blood ran cold. Who is this? Your son owes us money, Mrs. Harrison. A lot of money. $87,000 to be exact. The partial payments from your husband have been appreciated. But they're not enough. We need the full amount within 2 weeks, October 16th by 5:00 p.m. If we don't receive it, your family is going to have some very serious problems. 2 weeks, Mrs. Harrison. Tell your husband to stop playing games. We know about your house at 847 Oakwood Drive. We know about your assets. We know everything. October 16th, 5:00. The line went dead. I stared at Tom across the table. His face had gone white as paper. They've been calling you too, haven't they? I said. He nodded mutely. How long? 3 weeks. And you didn't think to tell me that our son owes $87,000 to loan sharks? That we're being threatened? I was trying to protect you. By lying to me? By keeping me in the dark while criminals threaten our family? I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Where does Lily fit into all this, Tom? Because I know there's more. That girl didn't whisper what she whispered in my ear for no reason. Tom's silence was answer enough. I'm going to Rachel's office tomorrow, I said, and you're going to tell me everything. Every single thing you've been hiding. Because I'm done living in a house full of lies. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving my husband sitting alone with his secrets. Week 3, October 9th, 15th, 2024. Wednesday, October 9th, 10:02 a.m. Rachel's office was located on the 14th floor of the Greenville Professional Building at 450 Commerce Street. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Her mahogany desk was covered with folders and documents. Tom sat beside me on the leather couch, a sectional from Restoration Hardware, probably $8,000. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past week. Rachel sat across from us in a wingback chair, her expression professionally neutral. But I could see the concern in her dark eyes. Let me summarize what we know, she said, opening a navy folder. Michael has a gambling addiction that started approximately 2 years ago, summer of 2022. He began with small online bets but escalated quickly. Over 24 months, he deposited $127,000 into various gambling accounts and accumulated $43,000 in credit card debt. She pulled out a document. This is his credit report. 3 maxed out cards. Chase Freedom, $15,000 limit. Discover Card, $12,000 limit. Capital One, $16,000 limit. All at their maximum. He's been making minimum payments, $450 monthly total, but the interest is killing him. Rachel turned to Tom. You've been trying to help by taking money from your joint savings and giving it to Michael. But the problem is, it's not enough. The gambling debts aren't to credit card companies. They're to illegal bookmakers, people who don't care about payment plans. $87,000, I said. That's what the man on the phone said Michael owes. That's the current balance, Rachel confirmed. It was probably less at first, but with interest and penalties, it's ballooned. These people charge exorbitant rates, sometimes 20% per week. Tom spoke for the first time. I've paid them $35,000 so far. I thought if I kept making payments, they'd give Michael time to get help. Instead, they see you as a cash source, Rachel said bluntly. They'll keep taking your money, but they'll never consider the debt paid. This is how they operate. I felt numb. Where does Lily fit into this? Rachel pulled out another folder. That's where it gets interesting. Michael met Lily in early 2020. They married in June 2021. According to financial records, Lily knew about Michael's gambling problems within 6 months of their marriage. In January 2022, she paid off $8,500 of his debt using her personal savings. So she was trying to help him, I said. At first, maybe, but then something changed. Rachel pulled out more documents. In March 2022, Lily opened a checking account in Michael's name, without his knowledge, we believe. She's been using it to receive payments from these bookmakers. I don't understand. Lily found out about Michael's gambling and decided to use it to her advantage. She's been in contact with the people he owes money to. She's negotiated with them. And based on what I've uncovered, she's been encouraging Michael to bet more, not less. The room spun. Why would she do that? Because the deeper Michael gets in debt, the more leverage she has over your family. And I think, Rachel hesitated, I think she's been blackmailing Tom. I turned to my husband. Is that true? Tom's face crumbled. She found out I was paying Michael's debts in March. She came to me and said if I didn't cooperate with her, she'd tell you everything. She knew about your father. She knew it would destroy you to find out Michael was gambling. Cooperate how? Tom couldn't meet my eyes. She wanted me to pretend, to let people think, to let you think that I was having an affair with her. The words hung in the air like poison. Why? I whispered. Because she's pregnant, Tom said. But the baby isn't Michael's, and it isn't mine. She's been having an affair with someone else. I don't know who. She needed a cover story, needed someone to take the blame when the baby doesn't look like Michael. I couldn't breathe. So you agreed to destroy our marriage, to let me think you were unfaithful, because you were afraid I couldn't handle the truth about Michael? I thought I was protecting you, Tom said desperately. Both of you. I thought if I just played along for a while, paid off the debts, everything would work out. You thought wrong, Rachel said sharply. She turned to me. Maggie, I need to ask you something. Do you want to save your marriage? Because I can help you with that. But first, we need to deal with Lily. She's manipulated your entire family, and she's not going to stop unless we make her. I thought about 43 years of marriage, about the life Tom and I had built, about the mistakes we'd both made, his in lying, mine in being too trusting. I want the truth, I said finally. All of it. Who's the father of Lily's baby? Because if we're going to confront her, I need to know everything. Rachel pulled out one more document. That's what I thought you'd say, so I did some digging. And what I found is going to surprise you. She slid a paper across the coffee table. It was a bank statement, but not from Tom's account. This was from David Thompson's account at Greenville Community Bank. And there, highlighted in yellow, was a deposit from March 15th, 2024, $5,000. Source, Lily Chen Harrison, Week 4, October 10th to 16th, 2024, Thursday, October 10th, 3:15 p.m. I stared at David Thompson's bank statement on Rachel's coffee table. The deposit from Lily glowed like an accusation. $5,000, March 15th, 2024. There's more, Rachel said, pulling out additional pages. April 22nd, another $3,500. May 8th, $4,200. June 3rd, $6,000. Over 6 months, Lily has paid David Thompson a total of $23,700. For what? I asked, though I was afraid I already knew the answer. Rachel's expression was grim. That's what we need to find out. But Maggie, there's something else you need to see. She handed me a manila folder marked Confidential Background Report. I hired a private investigator, Rachel explained. Someone I've worked with on custody cases. He's very good at finding information people would rather keep hidden. This is what he discovered about Lily Chen. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Subject, Lily Chen Harrison, née Chen. D.O.B., March 8, 1996. Age, 28 years old. Birth name, Lillian Chen. Birthplace, Portland, Oregon. Mother, Susan Chen, née Morrison, deceased. January 14, 2008. Father, David Chen, whereabouts unknown since 2008. My eyes moved down the page, and what I read made my heart stop. Family history, January 14th, 2008, Portland, Oregon. Police report number 08-0147 officers responded to 1847 SE Division Street, apartment 3A, at 6:47 a.m. following a 911 call from Lily Ann Chen, age 12. Subject found mother, Susan Chen, age 34, deceased in bathtub. Cause of death, intentional overdose of prescription medication, Ambien, 40 tablets. Suicide note found on kitchen table. Contents of note, excerpt. My dearest Lily, I'm so sorry. The debts are too much. $78,000 that I can't pay. Your father gambled everything away and left us with nothing. I can't face the collectors anymore. I can't watch them take our home. Please forgive me. You deserve a better mother than this. Love always, Mom. Father David Chen could not be located. Subject Lily Chen placed in foster care system, January 15th, 2008. Remained in Oregon State custody until age 18. I couldn't breathe. The folder slipped from my hands onto the carpet. Her mother killed herself, I whispered, because of gambling debts. $78,000, Rachel said quietly. The same amount Tom has paid trying to fix Michael's problem. Maggie, Lily knows exactly what gambling addiction does to families. She lived through it. Then why would she encourage Michael to gamble more? But even as I asked, pieces were clicking together in my mind. Unless she's so afraid of losing everything again that she's trying to control it, to make sure she has power this time. Trauma makes people do terrible things, Rachel said. It doesn't excuse what she's done, but it explains it. Lily watched her mother die because of gambling debts. Now she's found herself married to a man with the same addiction. She's trying to ensure she doesn't end up like her mother, powerless and destroyed. Tom, who had been silent through this revelation, finally spoke. That's why she was so insistent about the pregnancy story. She said she needed insurance. Said she couldn't risk being left with nothing if Michael's gambling destroyed everything. But who's the father? I asked. If it's David, why is she paying him? That doesn't make sense. Rachel pulled out her phone. That's what I asked my investigator to find out. He's been watching David Thompson's apartment for the past 3 days. And what he discovered is interesting. David has a girlfriend. Her name is Jennifer Walsh. She's 32, a nurse at Greenville Memorial Hospital. They've been together for 8 months. She scrolled through photos on her phone. David and a pretty redhead having coffee at Café Nouveau. David and the same woman grocery shopping at Whole Foods. David and Jennifer holding hands as they walked into his apartment at 145 Maple Street, Unit 2B. If David has a girlfriend, then he's probably not having an affair with Lily, I said. Probably not, Rachel agreed, which means the money Lily paid him is for something else. I think we need to talk to David. Today. Thursday, October 10th, 5:47 p.m. We found David at his apartment, just getting home from work. His Ford F-150 truck, a 2019 model, probably worth $32,000, was parked in the driveway. Rachel had called ahead. Mr. Thompson, my name is Rachel Martinez. I'm an attorney representing Margaret Harrison. We need to speak with you about Lily Harrison. It's important. David answered the door looking pale and nervous. His apartment was small but tidy. 1 bedroom, maybe 650 square feet. Monthly rent probably around $2,200. Through the doorway, I could see moving boxes stacked in the corner. You're leaving, I observed. David nodded miserably. I gave notice last week. I'm moving back to my hometown in Vermont. I can't keep doing this. Doing what exactly? Rachel asked, her voice firm but not unkind. David gestured for us to sit. His furniture was sparse, a couch from IKEA, probably $499, a coffee table that looked secondhand. He sat across from us in a folding chair and put his head in his hands. Mrs. Harrison, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. Why don't you start from the beginning? I said. David took a deep breath. I met Lily last year, March 2023. She started coming by while I was working in your garden. At first, she was just friendly, asked about the plants, about my work. Then she started asking personal questions, found out I was going through a divorce. My ex-wife, Kelly, we split up in January 2023. It was messy. She wanted $45,000 as her share of our savings, and I didn't have it. He looked up at us, his eyes red. Lily offered to help, said she'd loan me the money if I did her a favor. I was desperate. I said yes. What favor? Rachel asked, though I suspected we all knew. She wanted me to pretend, David said, to let people think we were having an affair. She said it was temporary, just until the baby was born. Said her husband's family was traditional and wouldn't accept the baby if they knew the truth. She promised it would only be for a few months, and then she'd move away, and I'd never have to see her again. What truth? I asked. David, who's the father of Lily's baby? David looked directly at me. Michael is. Your son is the father. There was never an affair, Mrs. Harrison. Not with me. Not with your husband. The baby is Michael's biological child. The room tilted. Then why all the lies? Why the elaborate scheme? Because of the gambling, David said. Lily found out about Michael's addiction about 6 months after they got married, January 2022. At first, she tried to help, paid off some of his debts with her own savings, $8,500 in credit cards. But then Michael started gambling again. Bigger bets this time. By the end of 2022, he owed $43,000. By March 2023, it was $67,000. By this summer, $87,000. He stood up and walked to a drawer, pulling out a folder. Lily kept records. She documented everything. Look. The folder contained printouts of Michael's gambling accounts. DraftKings, $47,820 deposited over 2 years. BetMGM, $38,445. FanDuel, $31,156. Illegal offshore sites, $9,576. Total, $127,000 Lily became terrified. David continued. She told me her mother killed herself because of gambling debts when she was 12 years old. She said she couldn't let that happen again. Couldn't let herself end up powerless and broke with a child to raise. So she created leverage, Rachel said. Exactly. She figured if your family thought she was having an affair, first with Mr. Harrison, then with me, she'd have power. She could threaten to expose the affair unless you helped pay off Michael's debts. And if the family fell apart, she'd have claim to your assets in a divorce. But why make Tom take the blame first? I asked. Because he was already helping Michael secretly. Lily found out in March that Mr. Harrison had been paying off some of the gambling debts. She threatened to tell you, knowing about your father's gambling problem, unless he played along with her story. She figured an old man having a midlife crisis affair was more believable than me anyway. The cruelty of it took my breath away. The calculation. The way Lily had weaponized my own trauma against me. The baby is really Michael's? I asked again. David walked to another drawer and pulled out a document. Lily had an early DNA test done, amniocentesis at 16 weeks. She showed it to me when she asked me to play along. Said it was insurance in case anyone questioned her story. He handed me the paper. It was from Gene Test Laboratories, dated September 18, 2024. Prenatal paternity test results. Mother, Lily Ann Chen Harrison. Gestational age, 16 weeks, 3 days. Fetal DNA source, amniocentesis, alleged father number 1, Thomas Andrew Harrison. Result, excluded, 0% probability of paternity. Alleged father number 2, David Michael Thompson. Result, excluded, 0% probability of paternity. Alleged father number 3, Michael David Harrison. Result, not excluded, 99.97% probability of paternity. I stared at the document through tears. My grandchild. The baby was really my grandchild. Why are you telling us this now? Rachel asked. David's voice broke. Because I can't live with it anymore. Because my girlfriend Jennifer found out. I had to tell her why I was suddenly moving to Vermont. She said I was helping someone destroy a family and she was right. Mrs. Harrison, your son loves his wife. He has no idea what she's been doing. And you and Mr. Harrison, you've been married 43 years. I couldn't let Lily destroy that. He pulled out his phone. I recorded our conversations, the ones where she explained her plan, where she told me exactly what to say and do. I thought maybe someday I'd need proof that I didn't actually do anything wrong, that I was just a prop in her scheme. He played one of the recordings. Lily's voice came through clearly. Listen, David, it's simple. You pretend we're sleeping together. Maybe we get caught a few times having intimate conversations. I'll tell Margaret I'm pregnant with your baby. She'll freak out, tell Michael, and in the chaos I can negotiate. Either they help us pay off Michael's debts, all of them, or I'll expose everything. The family will be so desperate to avoid scandal, they'll do whatever I ask. But what about Michael? He's a good guy, Lily. He doesn't deserve this. Michael is a gambling addict who's put me in the exact same position my mother was in. I'm not going to end up like her, David. I'm not going to die broke and alone because some man couldn't stop betting on football games. This time, I'm in control. The recording ended. The room was silent except for the ticking of David's wall clock. A cheap plastic thing from Target, probably $12.99. I'll testify, David said. If you need me to. I'll tell Michael everything. I'll tell anyone you want. I just want out of this mess. Rachel was already typing on her phone. David, I'm going to need copies of all those recordings. And that DNA test result. Can you email them to me? Yes, absolutely. I stood up, my legs unsteady. Thank you for telling us the truth. I know it wasn't easy. David walked us to the door. Mrs. Harrison, I really am sorry. And for what it's worth, your garden is beautiful. Working there was the best part of my job. I hope you can fix this. Your family doesn't deserve what Lily's done. Friday, October 11th, 10:00 a.m. Rachel, Tom, and I sat in her office planning our next move. We had 4 days until the October 16th deadline from the loan sharks. 4 days to save our family. We need to confront Lily, Rachel said, but we need to do it right. Not in private where she can spin the story later. We need witnesses. A family dinner, I said suddenly. This Sunday, October 13th. Here's what we're going to do. Child. Sunday, October 13th, 2024, 6:00 p.m. I spent 2 days preparing, calling Michael to invite them for Sunday dinner. Just family, I said, keeping my voice warm. I want to properly celebrate the baby. Michael was delighted. Mom, that's wonderful. Lily's been worried you were upset about something. If only he knew. I cooked all of Michael's favorite foods. Pot roast with vegetables, a recipe passed down from my mother. Homemade bread, flour from King Arthur, $6.49 for 5 pounds. Apple tart using Granny Smith apples from the farmer's market, $4.99 per pound. The dining room looked perfect. My grandmother's Royal Doulton china, the Waterford crystal, fresh flowers from Blooms and Petals on Main Street, $87.50 for the arrangement. Rachel arrived at 5:30 p.m. carrying her briefcase. She was here as a friend, but we all knew her real purpose. At 6:00 p.m. sharp, Michael and Lily arrived. Michael wore khakis and a button-down shirt. Brooks Brothers, probably $89. Lily wore a flowing maternity dress, though at 17 weeks, she barely showed. The dress was Tory Burch. I recognized the pattern. Retail price, $388. Margaret, Lily said, kissing my cheek. Everything smells wonderful. You've gone to so much trouble. No trouble at all, I said smoothly. Family is worth every effort. We sat down at 6:23 p.m. Michael beamed as he helped his wife into her chair. Tom sat quietly at the head of the table. Rachel sat to my right, her briefcase on the floor beside her chair. This is nice, Michael said. Having everyone together. Rachel, good to see you. Good to see you too, Michael, Rachel said warmly. We made small talk through the appetizer, Caesar salad with homemade dressing. Lily described her latest pregnancy symptoms. Michael shared news from the architectural firm where he worked. Salary $67,000 annually. I knew from tax returns I'd once helped him file. You know, I said casually as I served the main course, I've been thinking about family lately, about genetics. It's fascinating how traits get passed down through generations. Lily's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Genetics? Eye color, hair texture, facial features. Michael has his father's eyes, but my stubborn chin. I smiled at my son. I've been wondering what the baby will look like. Impossible to predict, Lily said carefully. Oh, but modern science is so advanced now, I continued. They can tell you so much about a baby even before birth. DNA testing, paternity confirmation, it's really quite remarkable. The word paternity hung in the air. Michael frowned. Mom, what are you getting at? I looked at my son, my beautiful, troubled, beloved son, and felt my heart break for him. But he deserved the truth. Rachel, I said quietly, show them. Rachel opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. She placed it in the center of the table. Lily, Rachel said, her voice professional and cool. This is a copy of the prenatal DNA test you had performed on September 18th at Gene Test Laboratories. The one showing that Michael is the father of your baby. Not Tom, not David Thompson. Michael. Michael's face went blank with confusion. What? Why would there be a DNA test? Of course I'm the father. Because your wife has been running a blackmail scheme, Rachel said. She pulled out more documents. These are bank records showing that Tom has paid $78,000 over 6 months trying to cover your gambling debts, Michael. Lily found out and has been using that information to manipulate your entire family. Gambling debts? Michael's voice was barely audible. How do you... Rachel kept going, document after document landing on the table like bombs. This is Lily's payment history to David Thompson, $23,700 over 6 months. She paid him to pretend to be having an affair with her. This is a recording of Lily explaining her plan to David. You can listen to it yourself. These are your online gambling accounts, Michael. DraftKings, BetMGM, FanDuel. Total deposits over 2 years, $127,000. Current debt to illegal bookmakers, $87,000. Michael's face had gone white. He looked at Lily. Tell me this isn't true. Lily sat frozen, trapped. The mask of sweet, pregnant young wife had cracked completely. Michael, she started. Tell me you didn't do this, Michael said. His voice was shaking. Tell me you didn't manipulate my parents. Tell me you didn't make my father think he had to pretend to have an affair with you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Real ones, I thought. I was scared, she whispered. My mother killed herself because of gambling debts. I was 12 years old and I found her in the bathtub. She left a note saying she couldn't face the collectors anymore. And then I married you, and you started gambling just like my father did. And I couldn't go through that again. So you decided to destroy our family instead? Michael's voice broke. You made my father lie to my mother. You paid a stranger to pretend to be your lover. You documented my gambling like you were building a legal case. What were you planning, Lily? What was the end game? I wanted security, Lily said. I wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, I wouldn't end up with nothing, like my mother did. You could have talked to me, Michael said. You could have told me about your mother, about your fears. We could have faced this together. I didn't think you'd stop gambling, Lily said. You didn't give me the chance. Michael stood up, his chair scraping loudly. You didn't tell me that my addiction was triggering your trauma. You didn't ask me to get help. You just started manipulating everyone around you, building your insurance policy, treating my family like chess pieces. He turned to me and Tom. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The gambling, I'll go to rehab. Today. Right now. Whatever you need me to do. We know, sweetheart, I said gently, and we're going to help you. But first, I turned to Lily. You need to leave. Tonight. Lily's head snapped up. What? You heard me. Pack your things and leave. You can stay with friends, family, get a hotel, I don't care. But you're not welcome in this house, and you're not welcome in our family until you get help. The baby is Michael's child and our grandchild, I said firmly. And we will support that baby. But you, Lily, need professional help. Therapy for your PTSD. Treatment for your trauma. Because what you've done to this family is unacceptable. Rachel pulled out another document. Lily, I've prepared separation papers. Michael will retain custody rights to the child. You'll have supervised visitation. And if you don't agree, we'll be filing criminal charges for blackmail and fraud. You've recorded conversations, money transfers. We have everything we need. You have 72 hours to decide, I said, CA said. Sign the papers and get help or face legal consequences. Your choice. Lily sat in silence for a long moment. Then she stood, her movements mechanical. I need my purse. I'll get it, Tom said quietly. After Lily left, her Mercedes pulling out of the driveway at 8:34 p.m., Michael collapsed into my arms, sobbing like the little boy he'd once been. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I know, baby. I know. We're going to fix this. Together. Tom stood awkwardly to the side. When I looked at him, I saw a question in his eyes. A question about us. About our marriage. About whether 43 years could survive this. I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew we'd find it. Together.